Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, hermaphrodites, and just all around fucking weirdos. This is your homeboy Quetzalcoatl, and I'm hitting your bitch ass up with another video. Now, in today's video, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give you my prediction for the Nonito Donaire versus Jorge Arce fight that's taking place December 15th. We're gonna talk about both fighters, and I'm gonna give you my prediction and tell you why I chose that fighter. We'll start off with Nonito Donaire. Of course, Nonito Donaire is coming off of a huge win versus Nishioka, in which Nishioka's corner stopped the fight, and rightfully so. Nonito Donaire has fast hands. As I've said in videos before, by some fans, he's very underrated. He gets sort of a bad rap, and if you can go back to the "Is Nonito Donaire a bum?" which I'll put in the video response section, so you can listen to what I had to say about that. Nonito Donaire also has great timing, especially against brawlers who come forward in real sloppy. Just an all-around solid fighter. If I would have to talk about his flaws, I would say that Nonito Donaire, his flaw comes in his defense. There are moments where his defense is sort of lax, as you've seen versus Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. and Matebula. Vasquez Jr. was able to consistently land that jab on Nonito Donaire, and Matebula, several moments in that fight, had good moments. Was landing a lot of combinations. The only problem was that Matebula, he had no power. Roberto Duran is manos de piedra, hands of stone. Matebula is manos almohadas, hands of pillows. You got them soft hands, them Charmin hands. But you would wonder what an elite fighter with either good technical skills or who throws in high volume, how they would fare against Nonito Donaire. Jorge Arce holds a record of 61 victories, 6 losses, and 2 draws with 46 KOs. 3 of his 6 losses have come by stoppage. He won his last fight versus Mauricio Martinez. I think that this is somewhat of an easy fight to call. If I had to bet money, my money would be on Donaire. I think that Jorge Arce's style is tailor-made for Nonito Donaire. Of course, they share common foes in Victor Arcinian and Wilfredo Vasquez. Jorge Arce lost to Victor Arcinian. He was stopped. Nonito Donaire ended up stopping Victor Arcinian. Nonito Donaire was able to win a decision victory versus Vasquez Jr. and Jorge Arce stopped Vasquez Jr. in what was a great fight. I remember watching that shit, buzzing like a motherfucker. It was a hell of a moment. And Jorge Arce is a 4-division champion. He's a character in and out of the ring. Outside of the ring, a lot of Spanish fans have seen him in what is like the Spanish version of Big Brother. He was on that TV show. You see what he does with his ring entrances. He comes in wearing the tejana, the cowboy hat. You've seen him on horses and shit with a lollipop. And dude is just an entertainer, and that's part of the reason why people remember him. The other reason why he's admired is that he fights like a warrior. He lacks in technical skills, but he's got a huge heart, and his fights are just action packed, and you can see why people have rooted for him. I just feel that Jorge Arce is not the same fighter that he once was, and even in his prime, he would have had a lot of problems versus Nonito Donaire. As you've seen, Nonito Donaire versus fighters who come just straight forward, such as Victor Arcinian and Fernando Montiel, Donaire demolishes them with that great timing. And Jorge Arce has lost about two or three steps from where he was in his prime, and he's a come forward fighter, and I just feel like he's gonna walk into a huge punch, and he's gonna get stopped. Jorge Arce is gonna be remembered in Mexican boxing history for being a fourth division champion. And like I said, I mean, I root for Mexican fighters, but I keep it real. I call it like I see it. I don't sugarcoat shit. And I mean, Jorge Arce is like he's 2 fights away from selling tamales. You know what I'm saying? He about to retire and slanging them tamales all around the streets and shit. And he's had a great career, but he's gonna get knocked out. He's gonna get stopped, and basically, I mean, after this fight, we boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans, pretty sure people who support Nonito Donaire, who are fans of Nonito Donaire, and of course his haters want to see Nonito Donaire step up. I've said that Nonito Donaire is a very talented fighter, but his resume has a lot of gaps in it. He does have big names on his resume, but he fights against those opponents so far apart that you want to see him in big fights. When he comes out of this fight with the victory, I think he should either fight Abner Mares or Guillermo Rigondeaux. Of course, Rigondeaux is fighting on the same day. Could this be a setup for that fight? A lot of people have been saying that Nonito Donaire has been ducking Guillermo Rigondeaux. And from some of the comments that Nonito Donaire has made, I mean, you can't really blame people for making those accusations. He's said it, one moment that he's willing to fight anybody, anywhere, anytime, and then when they mention Guillermo Rigondeaux, then, it turns into, well, Guillermo Rigondeaux doesn't have a name, and, this and that. And while I am a fan of Nonito Donaire, as I said, I call it like I see it. It does seem like he's ducking Rigondeaux. And for Nonito to cement his legacy in boxing, he needs that fight. He needs a fight versus Mares as well. Mares is coming off of he's on a hell of a roll with big name victories on his resume consecutively right now in his past couple of fights. Both fights would be different as far as how Nonito would approach him. The Abner Mares fight, him and Nonito would have a far more action-packed fight, as with Mares' style, who is a come forward fighter but also has boxing skills as well. I think Donaire would have to be very smart in that fight, try to technically outbox Mares. And with Rigondeaux, it's going to be more of a calculated fight. Rigondeaux, of course, has that great defense. As I've said, defensive fighters such as Omar Narvaez, give Nonito problems. You saw that the commentators were kind of saying Narvaez really isn't doing anything and this and that. But, I mean, Narvaez was showing a lot of defense in that fight. He didn't get the credit. I mean, Nonito Donaire won that fight, but I felt like Narvaez really didn't get the credit for the defensive skills that he showed. And he showed that defensive fighters frustrate Nonito Donaire a lot, and that perhaps an elite defensive fighter such as Rigondeaux would be able to expose those flaws in Nonito. And of course, Rigondeaux also packs a hell of a fucking punch, huge power in his hands, fast speed, and you just want to see how Nonito would fare now against different style fighters. You've seen that he can blow out fighters that come straight forward. He blows them out the water. People want to see him with elite boxers. Even a fight with Leo Santa Cruz, who is somewhat similar to Matebula, who throws in high volume, has a little bit more power in his punches than Matebula, and better boxing skills than Matebula. Or Anselmo Moreno. I think that those fighters that I just mentioned, Abner Mares, Rigondeaux, Leo Santa Cruz, Anselmo Moreno, and Nonito Donaire, I think that I want to see all these fighters fighting against each other in this in 2013. And if Nonito fights Mares, Nonito is going to have to protect those balls. Because Mares has great timing with those counter testicle shots. I want to know your opinion on this fight that's coming up. What do you want to see in the future? If you like this shit, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And this is your homeboy Quetzalcoatl signing the fuck on now.